Splatoon 3 is coming to an end. Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games, and today I wanted to discuss the recent announcement that Splatoon 3's final Splatfest will be happening in September. I want to talk about the theming of that Splatfest, also just the future of the series. Also, we're getting new amiibo, just a lot to be excited about when it comes to Splatoon. Now, I'll be honest, Splatoon 3, I kind of fell off pretty fast, honestly, after it came out back in 2022. I played it for, like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months, like, religiously. Like, I was every day playing Splatoon 3, and then I kind of fell off of it. Then Side Order came out, and I really like Side Order. I'm not sure if I enjoyed it quite as much as Octo Expansion, but I thought Side Order was a really fresh, kind of fun roguelike mode for Splatoon. But now we have the announcements of the final Splatfest, as they're calling it, the Grand Festival, which is pretty cool. The theming for this final Splatfest is past versus present versus future. It's a three-way Splatfest, as you would expect for Splatoon 3. However, here's the twist. Each kind of faction is represented by one of the idol groups. So the past faction is the Squid Sisters from the first game, Callie and Marie, very cool. The present faction is Off the Hook, so Pearl and Marina. And then for the future team, it's Deep Cut, of course being Shiver, Fry, and Big Man. So very cool to have them all represented in one big grand festival Splatfest. I really like that idea of having them all come together for this major Splatfest that will likely dictate what the plot or the setting or like the theming of Splatoon 4 ends up being. If you aren't aware, Splatoon for the past couple of games now, whatever wins in the final Splatfest usually changes something in the setting or plot of the following game. So past versus present versus future. I already got to put my money on future. I feel like future is a no-brainer here. I don't know why you wouldn't pick future, honestly. I feel like if this is going to set up Splatoon 4, future is kind of just more interesting. Like, who's picking present here? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. What team will you be on for the Grand Festival Splatfest? For me, it's obviously future. But whichever one of these three teams wins will likely be playing a major role in the plot of Splatoon 4, which is honestly just really exciting to think about. We got this trailer kind of teasing this big Splatfest, and there's just so much going on here. Like, we have all these new outfits for the Squid Sisters and all the idols. It's a really cool teaser, and the Splatfest will be happening on September 13th. So this was announced almost 2 months in advance, which I think would make it the longest, like, announcement to, event date for a Splatfest that we've ever had. But more importantly, potentially, if you're collector brain like I am, we did get 4 new amiibo announced releasing on September 5th. So this was data mined quite a while ago that we would be getting more Splatoon amiibo, I believe, of Off the Hook. So I know Marina and Pearl were like data mined or something, but we now know that we're also getting Callie and Marie kind of in their Alterna attire, which is just super cool to see these idols get more amiibo. I mean, Callie and Marie, obviously the iconic sisters, right? Getting more amiibo after, what, 10 years since Splatoon 1 came out, or 9 years. So that's definitely cool to see. Also, I just have to say, I freaking love these amiibo. I think these look really clean. Amiibo have just gotten better and better over the years. We get significantly less of them now. This is our first new amiibo since Sora came out back in February. So that's like, what, a 7-month gap in between new releases. So they're pretty sparse nowadays, but when we do get them, they look really freaking good. Like, looking at Callie and Marie here, they look so good. Their outfits, the like gloss on Callie's hair and her dress, the yellow and black theming here looks just really clean as well. I love the art for the 2-pack. And then same thing for Pearl and Marina. Like, Pearl has this kind of gold ink, Marina has this like silver ink. Very cool amiibo designs. Big fan of these. Will be picking them up, and those release on September 5th. So yeah, definitely excited for those. But this announcement definitely has me thinking about the future of Splatoon. A few months ago, I talked about a rumor from Midori, of course, washed up leaker Midori, and there was this code name that came out, and people were speculating that it was Splatoon 4, and I saw a lot of people talking about the idea that Splatoon 4 might release in the very first year of the Nintendo Switch 2, so potentially as soon as, like, next holiday season. And I wanted to talk about that today. When will we see Splatoon 4? I still think it's a ways off. For those that don't know, Splatoon and Animal Crossing share a lot of the same developers and a lot of the same staff. Not the same producers, not the same directors, but a lot of that same talent is shared between Splatoon and Animal Crossing. And for me, as a Nintendo fan, even though I don't love Animal Crossing, honestly, I definitely prefer Splatoon. I feel like it makes a lot more sense for them to get out a Animal Crossing game first before Splatoon, because Splatoon, while yes, I love all 3 games, out of every Nintendo franchise, I think it is pretty safe to say that, like, the differences between each entry, I'm not going to say they're minimal, But I can imagine like a lot of casual players jumping into Splatoon 2 and then playing 3 and just being kind of like, okay, well, this is just more Splatoon, right? Even though for people that really dive deep into Splatoon, yeah, there's all these minute differences and it does feel different and it looks different and there's different modes and that kind of thing. Different events. Splatoon 3 obviously has like the catalog system. I think for the casual player, all Splatoon games kind of feel the same. And even Splatoon 2 to 3, I think for a lot of people was kind of too soon. Even though that was 5 years, a lot of the talk when Splatoon 3 was coming out was like, oh, why do we need this? Well, we already have Splatoon 2, because Nintendo typically only has like one game per system. So I definitely wonder if releasing Splatoon 4 so early in the Switch 2's life cycle would be a mistake, considering we just got Splatoon 3, 2 years ago at this point? By the time that releases, let's say 3 years ago. I don't know. I would be there day one. Like, I would definitely love that. And it would make sense from the aspect of, like, getting a big multiplayer game out on the Switch 2 in its first year. A game that would sell consoles. Splatoon is definitely a system seller in Japan anyway. So it would make sense from that aspect. But I feel like if I'm Nintendo, I would greenlight that Animal Crossing game first and make sure that that gets out first before Splatoon, given how well New Horizons did. Something I discovered the other day that I do find kind of peculiar is that one of the directors of Splatoon 2, Yusuke Amano, hasn't been credited on a game as director since Splatoon 2. He was the planning supervisor for Animal Crossing New Horizons, but beyond directing Octo Expansion and then, yeah, that supervisor role, he hasn't been credited for any game. So I feel like EPD5 low-key might have already been developing some other game since around like 2019, 2022. Now, would it make sense for him to have already started making Splatoon 4 all the way back then before Splatoon 3 even came out? I don't know. Like, I don't know if Nintendo would do that. That's definitely something like a Call of Duty developer would do, but I don't know if it would make sense for Nintendo to do that. Could it be that he started working on Animal Crossing Switch 2 at that point? Maybe. Is it possible they're making a new IP entirely? I think that's maybe possible. That would certainly be a big deal coming from one of Nintendo's most talented studios. And I mean, of course, this is the team that brought us Splatoon, so give them a shot at a new IP. I don't think that's that out of the realm of possibility. And having the director of Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 leading it could make a lot of sense. The time to try out new IP is definitely when a new console is coming out. That's when your users are most engaged in the software lineup and all eyes are on it. Like, I mean, ARMS, if that released right now, probably wouldn't sell 3 million copies. But ARMS in 2017, when the Switch was a brand new thing, all eyes were on ARMS. So if they did want to make a new IP, the time to do it would be very early on in the Switch 2's life cycle. But then that really makes you question, like, okay, how are they going to divide time between a new IP, Splatoon 4, and Animal Crossing? Because while I think it might be a little too soon for Splatoon 4, you also can't wait too long. I think if you go past 5 years, that probably would be too long. I mean, if we get to 2028 and we haven't seen Splatoon 4, the fan base is going to be restless. And if you really think about it, Nintendo has pretty much constantly had Splatoon kind of as like a thing they're updating. From 2015 to 2017, we had Splatoon 1 getting updates. Then 2017 through, I want to say, like, 2019, we had consistent updates for Splatoon 2. And then there was a bit of a gap, but that gap was there because of COVID. I assume Splatoon 3 was supposed to come out a little bit sooner, given that they were teasing it, I believe, at the beginning of 2020, with the Save Our Salmonids little teaser. Then they announced Splatoon 3 freakishly early for a Nintendo game. They announced it almost 2 years before it came out, or like a year and a half before it came out. So I think the idea for Nintendo might be like, hey, we want to always have Splatoon out and being updated. And I mean, Splatoon 3 didn't sell poorly by any stretch of the imagination. The idea that because Splatoon 2 was already on the Switch, Splatoon 3 didn't need to exist, I can see where people are coming from, but at the same time, Splatoon 3 still sold really, really well. It didn't manage to outsell Splatoon 2, I don't believe, but it got pretty close. But they might be looking at it and saying, like, hey, we want to constantly have this kid-friendly shooter game on the market at all times, getting updated. It's an easy game to have, like, constantly in the zeitgeist with new weapons, new maps, new modes. We sell tons of merch in Japan, and people are just really invested in the franchise as a whole, so maybe they're looking at it like that, and they're like, well, we just need to get this out. Even if some hardcore gamers on the internet that don't really play Splatoon that often, maybe they'll be complaining like, oh, we're all another Splatoon game that looks kind of the same. They might complain, but the reality is Splatoon fans are going to show up for a new Splatoon, even if it, on the surface, kind of feels the same, and if it is kind of too soon. And I guess the difference there would be, like, with Splatoon 2, that game needed to exist, because the Switch could not play Wii U games. Whereas with the Switch 2, theoretically, it will be able to run Splatoon 3 and Splatoon 2. But if Splatoon 3 is truly done getting updates after this grand festival Splatfest, there will be a need for more Splatoon content in the world. So I will say now, as of this video, as of recording, I'm not going to put money on Splatoon 4 coming out next year, but I definitely, I could see it happening. And hey, maybe Nintendo has planned it out well enough that we actually get both Animal Crossing and Splatoon 4 in a very short time frame. Like, let's say the sequel to New Horizons comes out sometime next summer, and then in early 2026, we see Splatoon 4. That's like a year without Splatoon updates, but by the time the Switch 2 is announced, you can announce Splatoon 4 with it, so there will still be that kind of hype train going with the franchise and with the IP. That could make a lot of sense if they were able to manage it and kind of balance out their dev teams a little bit and just kind of have everything rolling at once. It's definitely a lot to think about. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. How do you feel about this Grand Festival Splatfest reveal? How do you feel about the new amiibo? Of course, what team will you be picking on the Splatfest if you decide to play it? Like I said, I'm Team Future. I will be loading up the game for the Splatfest because I got to be there for the final shebang for Splatoon 3. But also, more importantly, how do you feel about the future of Splatoon? Do you think Splatoon 4 in 2025 makes sense? Do you think they'll push it off a little bit longer? I would love to get a conversation going down in the comments below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, discussions, all of that fun stuff. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and until next time, folks, peace.